but I always come back to wanting to just make things and express something about what I'm taking in about the world and wanting to put that back out into the world. That's something I'm still figuring out how to do, and I think a lot of students, you don't even really start to break into that until the end of your undergrad career.
So
but I did it because my hands itch if I don't, and I feel like I have something to share.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is painting is that mostly what you work in, or do you do sculpture? Sort of all over.
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. Yeah. I'm gonna do a lot of advanced of sculpture, painting, and print, and it'll be one of those things where I end up just doing a little bit more painting, and that's my concentration, or something like that. I feel, for me, I like to have lots of projects going on, and having lots of projects in multiple mediums seems to feed the art practice for all of those mediums. Yeah. So, and I feel like the mental process of sculpture and print are actually very similar, and then painting is a nice way to sort of just be very introspective.
Yeah, look inside of it.
Yeah.
I like that. When we were stalking your Instagram, I'm sorry that's so creepy.
It's not
creepy. I was like, I'm just gonna look her up.
It's there for a reason.
Okay, good. I'm gonna follow you now.
Yeah, thank you.
But we noticed that a lot of your subjects tend to be more feminine. Can you tell us a little bit about that, or sort of describe your intention behind that, or your inspiration?
That's an interesting question, because I haven't gotten that before. Well, I mean, a lot of what I've been working on recently has been, sort of self-portraiture, or things that are kind of like self-portraits.
Yeah.
I also enjoy, or am interested in some levels of androgyny, or the idea of obscuring the figure. I know that one of my portraits that sometimes, people think is more androgynous is actually of my partner. And it's interesting to hear people's different reactions to that portrait of him. I don't know, I guess I'm interested in women's stories, and I'm interested in stories and people that are interested in women, if that makes sense.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we were looking through all your stuff, and it was that's so cool, that's so cool. I love the paintings that you brought up with you. So in terms of your inspiration, especially with the, I know the sweater with the heart on it, I saw one of the pictures of that. What was your inspiration behind that piece?
Well, that was something that's interesting to me is thinking about intergenerational trauma, and also craft that's passed down intergenerationally. So I think something that was really passed down, I think, from my maternal grandfather and my mother, and to me is issues of chronic pain, of stories or experiences of mental illness, and also of a love of costuming and craft and fiber arts, of sewing and embroidery, and no one else did needle felting, but I do that. But so I wanted to make a wearable piece that's sort of trying to articulate some of both the discomfort of being in my body, but also knowing that I have these things that aren't, that they're things that are passed down onto my body. And also a sort of testament to that, articulating pain with fuzzy, informal, abstract little shapes. Those aren't necessarily painful things, or they don't read aggressively, or whatever you might associate with them. But it's about that ambiguousness. When you have love and pain very much intertwined.
Yeah, the transformation of the medium. That's cool. So you said your maternal grandfather and your mother.
My maternal grandmother.
Grandmother. Okay. Yeah. So is that sort of where you learned how to do some of what you do, or is that?
It's weird because I would say that I come from a family of some creatives. My parents are both definitely creative. My mom is an artist. My maternal grandmother was an artist. you know, like self-taught at home,
Yep.
making paintings and costuming, you know, for local theater companies or doing things like that.
Awesome.
Not going to art school, not doing things like that, but very creative and intentional. I feel like I was raised in a way that was very intentional about things that you do visually.
Yeah.
But then on my own way, me and my brother are both very creative in our own ways, or have gone off on our own paths and made different connections.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say like my inspiration or the reason I'm doing art is because of my family, but it definitely is a significant part of my background.
Yeah. That's awesome. What were some of our other questions? My laptop died, so.
Back to the question about the heart. What's the date? What's the significance of
That date, that's actually just my birthday.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's my birthday.
Awesome. So are you senior? Or are you
I'm
junior? Sort of in between.
Yeah, I transferred after a year at UMaine at Machias.
Oh, gotcha.
And you know the weirdness of some credit loss, and then
Mm-hmm.
also
Love
kind
that.
of getting jumped ahead with some of my like art electives getting all fulfilled through doing art stuff there.
Yeah.
And then I'm planning on applying to the BFA program at
Awesome.
this semester, and I'm also doing honors. I have to work in my thesis, so
Yep, that's a fun
it's
time.
either gonna be like an extra semester or like a whole 5th year.
Yeah.
Depends on what's going on this summer, but yeah.
Gotcha. So are you gonna incorporate? Well, obviously for your honors thesis, does that count for your capstone? Within-
No,
Oh,
but they can be
interesting.
definitely intertwined.
Yeah. Do you have any idea of what you're gonna do for those yet?
I'm thinking of a multimedia piece,
Mhm.
probably. I wouldn't call these pieces like inner demon pieces because that's not what it feels like it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a shorthand that might help articulate what that is. But I'm thinking like I want to incorporate somehow print and or painting with fiber and make maybe sculptural pieces,
Yeah.
but still playing with ideas of identity and sort of inner world.
Yeah.
Trying to open up that inner world. That's what I'm trying to do, is open
Yeah.
up that door.
That's
But
awesome.
that's one of those things where that's a work in progress this
Yes,
semester.
I get that.
What's happening with the thesis?
Yeah. No, that's. I don't know. I'm in the honors thesis class right now, and I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm doing in my life. So.
Yeah.
I feel ya.
It's just hard when you like things and you like
I
making
know.
things. It's like, well, how do
I
I
don't wanna be
choose?
limited,
I don't
yeah.
want to eliminate
Yeah.
one of these mediums or several of these
Yeah.
mediums.
Just to fulfill
Yeah.
like a thesis.
Yeah.
But I totally get that. What else, Marco? Any questions?
No. Can't think of anything off the top of my head. You should. Yeah.
Can you tell we're new at this?
It's all right.
Sorry. Can you? I don't know. Would you mind, like, at some point, like when we do like the full filming and everything for the full interview, would you mind like being able to talk to us about some of your more specific like paintings and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Right now we're just trying to like, I don't know, figure out what the story is. But you're
Okay.
giving us a lot of good stuff to work with. I mean, we could just get some B-roll and then go from there.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
planning
Come
just
back.
to like give you like a background of like.
Because I
what
have
we're
no
trying to do.
information about
Yeah.
what this
No,
actually
me
is at
neither.
all.
So I don't
And-
know if you've looked at the main journal, but we do. Well, not we. We're trying to do. In the past, it's been either like little mini documentaries about students who
Okay.
are like highly recognized in their field of study or who are working on these really great projects. So we are sort of stepping in and taking the reins on that now.
Okay.
That we've gotten hired. So I think our intention for this is just to have like a feature on you and
Mhm.
obviously a feature on you, and really showcase your art and be able to broadcast that to the
Mhm.
whole main community. So what that would look like in the end is just a collection of like the interview we do with you, some of the stuff you've done, and probably just a short write-up or like a little biography about you. I
Okay.
guess. Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Okay.
That sounds cool with you.
Yeah, that's very cool with me.
Awesome. Yeah, this was awesome. I think if you want to get some B-roll footage, and then
Yep.
we can go from there. we're just experimenting with things.
Yeah.
I guess, but no, I totally get that whole honors thesis thing. It's like, what are we doing with our lives? You know?
Yeah, especially because it's one of those things where you can and you can't integrate it with the capstone. It's like if I do the BFA program, I have to do capstone anyway, but capstone's its own thing. And then if I do BFA, I think I have to do some extra special thing. And it doesn't mean that the work that I do can't be integrated into my honors thesis, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the thesis still has to be more, and it's a separate thing where I'd be working with a specific professor for like an entire semester. So, yeah.
Good times. Good times.
And what is your major?
I'm an English major, so
Yep.
my thesis is maybe going to be just a fiction piece.
Yeah.
With
But
like
that
an
can
artist
be
statement.
a lot.
Or I don't know.
Yeah, that can, I don't know, what I've heard about like the English majors doing the creative thesis option has been like people submitting entire like novels, but I also obviously you can be very successful in English or have a very powerful piece that's short. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Some of the, some of the past like theses, and a lot of them, I've read some of like the short story ones. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do, but I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I have a year, so
yeah.
ish. But maybe not actually. But I don't know. Yeah. So are you from Maine?
I am from Maine.
Okay. So you started at UMaine Machias. Nice. That's a small school, isn't it?
It is a small school. Yeah.
Good times. So what's UMaine like compared to that, other than how big it is?
I would say that there's probably more opportunity to be just I know it's bigger, but it's bigger. Like there's just more things to be engaged with or to do, especially if you're like a creative person. Machias is great as far as like there's definitely a very creative community there, and lots. It's just like a weird, cool little place, but it's very much do it yourself.
Yeah.
Which can be really empowering in some ways, but at UMaine there's also just things that you can decide to go along for the ride with, or just go and experience, and you don't have to have like made sure that visiting artist was even able to come, or you didn't have to be involved with the club that put together the flyers. You know,
you
like
just be there.
You could just be there. Yeah.
That's a good
And obviously, like having just multiple studios and things like that is a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
do you work pretty closely with the other art students? I mean, like you're literally in the same space with them, but what's that sort of interaction or that community like?
I think that we've got a pretty good community. I might be ignorant in saying this, but I feel like we mostly don't really work together unless something's a sculpture class, they'll be like, collaborate with another student. Right. And then capstone, you're like, that class has to be like working together to put together the senior show. But outside of that, working together is very informal. But yeah, we like get to know each other definitely. That's and you end up forming bonds with people, or you push each other to build upon your art and to explore different themes, and that can be really helpful. And like I've made some really great fellow art student friends here, so that's been really good.
Do you guys, for the classes you're taking, do you guys have critique sessions or?
Yeah, we do. That's basically the foundation of our classes. Is make things and then be critiqued. Be instructed on how to make things, and then as you go through, it's mainly like show up and make things, and then do critique. Yeah, so it's a lot of critique. That's our. It's really interesting because I don't know of many other majors where you're really sort of helping. I wouldn't say grade, it feels like the wrong word, but kind of like give feedback and kind of grade each other. Like obviously the professor still has their notebook, they're taking notes in, and they're the ones who decide the actual letter grades, but you are showcasing your art to your fellow students, and then they're giving you feedback as an audience, and that's really unique, and that's like the power of going to any sort of, even if you're doing like a art program and it's still like a BA program or something, and not going to an art school, like that is so valuable, like that experience of being able to do critique with your peers.
Does that ever get hard? Because I mean, I feel like art is such like a personal thing. Is it hard to sort of put your stuff out there and have people look at it?
I think it depends. You have to really build. I mean, there's like lots of different thoughts on this, I feel like I really changed my mind on how I feel about it. Sometimes it's like, here's my really personal stuff, and we're gonna get, you know, you're gonna critique it how you're gonna critique it, and then I'm gonna feel however I feel about that. You know, at home I'll handle those feelings or whatever.
I'll cry
but
later.
Yeah, but like there's that, and then there's other times where it's really important. It depends on what you need. Like if you can have all your feelings and still let yourself have all your feelings and then still grow and progress, then I don't think there's anything wrong about that. But a lot of people just really need to be like, there's me and then there's my art.
Yeah.
Because they won't be able to grow if they
That's
get
true.
critiqued. So it's really important to be able to
Step back
on some level. Because you can make, you know, a lot of people are making art about their lives in some way.
Yeah.
But if you make the art just you, it's going to be so hard to
build upon it. Or
build upon it or try new things in whatever medium without being like, oh, but if I instead do this idea in metal, but I feel really, you know, uncomfortable with my welding abilities, and but you make it about you, that's gonna be impossible. Like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
That's tough. It's cool that you guys get that opportunity though to like look at each other's art and sort of, I don't know, work creatively within each other in a way.
Yeah. And that's something like when I talk to people of other disciplines where it's like, oh, I guess you don't know your peers like that either. Like it's not that I feel like I really know somebody just by looking at their work, because it is, you know, there is that separation, but there is like, this is like a community of sorts. Like we're definitely the art department is a community, and we're watching each other grow basically. And grow up.
Develop. That's awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of the professors, I know Ed Nadeau, is that his name?
Yes.
Cool.
Nadeau. Yeah.
Nadeau.
Yes.
So he was the one that like recommended you to Mike Scott about doing the main journal interview. Have you had him for a lot of classes?
Yep, I have him. He actually teaches in honors also. So I first met Ed when I transferred and took honors 111.
Huh.
And then I took like drawing 1 with him, and then I had painting 3, and I'm doing painting again with him this semester. So I've known him since I've been here, so for 3 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's he been like as a professor? Like, what is he? I don't know. What's that professor-student relationship in terms of the art department and the art community with?
I feel like, again, that's really dependent on both the personality of the student and the personality of the professor.
Yeah.
And we're people. So, you know, I know that there are students that have really great mentor relationships with some professors, but they still, like, don't have any kind of, like, personal rapport, if that makes sense.
Like
and then there's,
only.
and then there's other people where it's, like, I would say that I view a lot of my professors as definitely mentors, but I feel like these are wonderful adults that I've gotten to meet, and like I definitely, there's like a personal rapport there. Like Ed has been very, very supportive of me in many ways, and has been just really important to me as a student here. Has really helped push me and been really supportive in me, like, kind of stepping out of bounds of things I had been doing. But so that's my experience. Like, I generally get on with people. And
people like me. No, I get that. I can't I don't know, like I have a lot of friends who are engineers, and just hearing about how like their classes work or how their departments work, it's so weird to me because I feel like, I mean, with the creative writing classes that I've taken, it sounds sort of similar to what you've experienced, like because it is sort of a, I don't know, like a closer knit group of students or something. You sort of build that bond with each other in a way, even if it's not, you know, outside of the classroom or anything.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I think STEM people are missing out, honestly. But
and it can go the other way too, where you can always be like, oh, I got stuck with these people that I don't particularly like to be as my professors or my fellow students, and you might be adversarial to that whole process, and that can be its own special experience. And I'm not saying that students that experience that it's like all on them. It also is just because we're a smaller community, and sometimes like you don't, you know, like we have a small faculty. You get on with people or you don't. Like
it's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And you learn to deal with that whichever way, you know, that goes.
Yeah. I get that.
Because I do think it's hard. There's a lot of students, not just in our department, in general, there's a lot of students that just want to sort of go to class and then disappear and be very separate. And it's really hard to do that in small departments.
Yeah. Especially when you're, I don't know, you get so involved in it, I feel like, or at least in my personal experience.
Well, it's a lifestyle. Even if you're trying to work or do other things while you're being a full-time art student, you like live here. So, like I pretty much live in Wise.
This is my home.
Yes. And I can't speak for new media per se, but I like see a lot of the students also here for entire days too. So it just happens like that.
I think a lot of the people that we work with are new media students, or like so they're sort of working on all these like creative projects too, and they're like, like we live in the